listening live to Rightside Radio with Phil Williams. It's hard to go wrong when you're on the right side. Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama's syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live on the Rightside Studios. Man, you got the local, the state, the national, sometimes the international. We cover down on all the issues on this show. And like that dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome to a beautiful spring day. Beautiful, beautiful spring day. It's Tuesday, which we around here we like to call Camel Eve. But Boomer's on the board. Hey, buddy.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good.
You good?
I'm good.
More than
Camel Eve.
That's right.
Pretty and it's cold outside.
Which is weird. I mean, it's like you look outside, it looks like spring. It feels like December in Alabama. But I got up this morning, it said 27 degrees. I was like, what is happening?
That's what I did. I got up. I got ready to go run. I walked outside and said, nope. I should have just muscled it up and went for it because that's what I normally would do. But then I was like, I could just hang out.
Then you get that wheezy cold air lung feeling. Like, good Lord. All right. Hey, listen, we got a great show laid on for you. 3 o'clock today. Stay tuned. You hear me talk about ZLA Solutions all the time. Well, Andrew Ford, the president of ZLA Solutions, is going to be in studio because we're doing a segment on what's happening with labor participation. So you guys stay tuned for that. 3 o'clock today on the show, Andrew Ford, president of ZLA Solutions, talking about jobs, the economy, all that. So, yeah, 3 o'clock. And then I got a triple dipper full of stuff. Hit it, buddy.
The Triple Dipper. 3 stories you've got to know.
That's right, the Triple Dipper. 3 stories, 3 themes, if you will, that you have got to know as we run today's show. So, number 1, right out the gate, I'm calling the first part of the Triple Dipper, get a job. Get a job. So, Alabama's unemployment rate is great. Alabama's labor participation rate is well below the national average, like by a lot. So what does that mean? We're going to break that down about the number of people trying to find jobs, what the jobs market is like, what employers are having to do to get people in. And oh, by the way, what does it mean for our economy? So yeah, we'll look at all that. Number 1 on the Triple Dipper, get a job. Number 2, I'm calling it deprogramming woke. I saw this thing, and we're going to play an audio for you later in the show of a young lady who was just talking to a guy on the street who obviously did not know what to say but felt like he had to apologize for his skin color. Well, she quickly deprogrammed him. So why do you feel that way? Why would you feel that? And it was amazing. And I got to think, you know what? We need to talk about that. What does it mean to address the issues and be ready for the conversations? And don't be that guy stammering on the microphone if you get caught up in a conversation like that. So number 2 on the Triple Dipper, deprogramming woke. And then number 3, I don't care what the Oscars say, Top Gun is tops. That's what I'm calling it. Top Gun is tops because it just is. It was just the movie. Some say, Steven Spielberg says, Top Gun saved Hollywood. And yet, what did it do at the Oscars? Nothing. Give me that little womp womp. You got that sound effect? It was just, yeah, that was Top Gun at the Oscars. Biggest movie of the year. Nailed it. Tore it up. And it got an Oscar for sound. That's what it got. So we'll talk about it because in reality, it was the message behind Top Gun that made it so successful, along with, quality production. Top Gun is tops. We'll talk about it. Speaking of Top Gun, let me jump over to my comments and open up the show with my usual monologue. But I gotta tell you, I'm of the firm belief that patriotism is real. All right, patriotism is real. Patriotism, love of country, being proud of your heritage, proud of where you came from, willing to defend the honor and integrity of your nation because that's your team. Patriotism is very real. I've not only felt it myself, I've seen it in others. You go to a football game under the lights on a Friday night, someone sings the national anthem perfectly, and it makes you just, well up for a minute. You attend a celebration on the 4th of July, and the Air Force does a flyover right before the fireworks, and it just hits you. I love seeing a giant American flag flying in the breeze, a giant one. But I've also seen the small American flags flapping on the antennas of a military vehicle overseas, and I felt the same way. Patriotism is very real. And patriotism, it's a sentiment. It's a sentiment That is the amalgam of emotion and familiarity, a sense of belonging, pride, protectiveness, and the idea that you're part of something bigger than yourself. Patriotism, it can be bounded by geography, but extended to places beyond your borders because you're willing to go there and defend your home's interest. Patriotism is that sense of relief you get when you come home from another place that you don't call home. Patriotism is the thing that it'll make you take a stand next to somebody who you never would have hung out with back home because he or she is from back home, and you are together on behalf of back home. So yeah, patriotism is a deep-rooted thing that wells up, and it can move you and make you do stuff you never would have done because you're doing it for something bigger than you that you want to have preserved. It's hard to put your finger on it, but yet it's impossible to deny. Patriotism is real. And in my opinion, though, patriotism is also learned. It doesn't just happen. It doesn't just materialize because you're familiar with a place or a nation or a flag. And I got to ask, do you ever wonder if the next generation is going to feel like you do? I don't care how old you are. Doesn't matter whether you're Gen Z, Gen X, millennial, baby boomer, or of the greatest generation. Every generation feels like they're the ones who've got a corner on the patriotism thing, and they wonder if that next group of up-and-comers is going to get it like they got it. Well, that said, there's a lot of debate out there about the movie Top Gun Maverick and why it didn't perform better at the Oscars, and I'm going to get into that more later. But let me lead off my thoughts about patriotism here being a learned emotion by quoting a verse that many of you already know. Proverbs 22:6 says, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." Now, before anyone takes offense, I acknowledge the verse does not say, raise up a child in patriotism. And I agree this verse has more often been used to discuss raising up a child in faith, and I get that. But I still think the sentiment, at the very least, is applicable. In fact, when you dig into it, you find that verse, the original Hebrew translation of train up a child, is literally initiate or instruct a child in the way he should go, with one commentary that I read saying it refers to the elementary instruction, to imbue things, so that the good things you're teaching them can be, caught up early in their lives and embedded in their core, so when they get older, they will retain it and draw from it. Well, why shouldn't the same be said for teaching our kids that they live in the greatest nation on the face of the earth? I grew up, like so many of you, putting my hand over my heart and reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I grew up seeing school plays that honored the resilience of the Pilgrims and the honor of the Founding Fathers. I had generations of men in my life who went to war, who wore the ribbons on their chests that said they had been there and done that, but I could also tell that it wasn't just a job for them. I watched patriots, and I learned patriotism. I studied patriots, and I learned patriotism. And, this is key, I was intentionally taught patriotism by folks who wanted me to know and to feel what they knew and felt. They raised me up in the way I should go, and to this day I do not resent it. I do not reject it. In fact, I have worked to imbue that same sentiment about our nation in my own kids, because patriotism is learned. And see, the left knows this. The left knows if they can convince our kids there's nothing here in the U.S. to love, that it will tear away the fabric of our very culture. I mean, how can you possibly feel good about being a part of something that has no redeeming qualities? Hence the constant calls to view the greatest nation on earth, the founders of civil liberties, as being systemically racist. There's very little to be patriotic about if you believe that 1776 is not when we cast off the shackles of totalitarianism and established this nation in which all men are created equal. If, in the alternative, you are taught that we were actually founded on the day that slavery came to our shores in 1619. How can you possibly convince a kid that the military is worth joining if that kid is told over and over again that racial injustice and climate change are the reasons why the military needs his or her time, and not the notion of fighting to support and defend the Constitution? It's a conundrum. But the left knows this. And the left knows this, and that's why they're going after our kids like never before. So you make the message of patriotism appear to be tied to racism, ableism, sexism, and every other ism known to man other than patriotism, and you could tear a generation away from those things that we need them to carry into their adulthood. But I take heart in the fact that while the Oscars couldn't quite figure out why Top Gun Maverick was so well loved, that the majority of Americans really get it. It's because at a time when all of this was happening, when pandemic shutdowns and racial tensions and cultural battles over CRT, ESG, DEI, and LGBTQ and all the other alphabet soup arguments against our nation were raging, at that same time, that at our very core, we are still a nation that loves our flag, our way of life, our freedoms, and our nation as a whole. You say what you want about there being divisions in our society. I see it differently. I know that most of you do as well, because those who know that if tomorrow everything that we had was attacked or stripped away or torn down, that we would still have a bunch of us who don't look alike or talk alike or otherwise relate to each other, who would still stand up for what we have left because it's our country. And we are patriotic. We are patriots. But the left wants that gone. They don't want us to raise up the next generation of kids to love America so that when they get old, they will not depart from it. You see, patriotism is learned. And the teaching of it has to be intentional. So teach your kids and your grandkids and the next generation, teach them about the love of country. When they get old, they'll be patriots. And that's a wrap for the Right Side Way. Yeah, Boomer, I'm feeling my oats today, man. I'm all in. I just looked at this whole situation about Top Gun being dissed. I mean, just totally dissed. And I thought, you know what? I don't care if they get it. I get it. Patriotism is learned. And there's a whole lot of folks out there, young and old, who still get teary-eyed when the flag waves, and I know it. It's because they were taught something when they were younger and they didn't forget it when they got older, and we got to continue doing that to the next generation, because if the left gets their way, there will be no patriots. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right. Saving the world one soundbite at a time. Boomer, you threw a little ELO bump in there, man. Yeah. Little ELO bump. That was good. I'm going to be singing that the rest of the day now, probably. Don't bring me down. Okay, so got some great texts in, by the way. Thank you to those of you who sent in comments about the monologue just now. Just a couple of those. JT from Lacey Springs. I don't know if I can read it. Can I read that? I don't know if I can read that.
Yeah.
He says, Colonel, that was a good kick in the nads to get the point across. So thank you, JT. Missy from Faulkville. She's awesomely right. She says, awesome, beautifully said. You could take that monologue and replace patriotism with God because our country desperately needs both. Totally agree, Missy. And I sent back, I said, agreed. Jeremy from Huntsville just says, fantastic monologue from sea to shining sea. Thank you, my ruffian brother. We got several more in here. I'll just jump around a little bit. But I tell you what, let's do this, though. The text lines are open. You probably figured that out. The number is 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. I'm going to update you on something with the March Madness bracket in a minute, or Boomer is. But let me tell you this first. Boomer's so awesome. So Boomer. On the website, I tell you guys all the time, there's a ton of stuff on the website, rightsideradio.org. That's www.rightsideradio.org. Well, we had a notion. You hear me rattling paper. I'm sitting here every day, with 15 or 20 articles that I'm using as I call them the resources for the show. I get up early in the morning, like somewhere around 4:30 or so, and somewhere around 5:15 or so after I've just had my quiet time and all that, I start resourcing the show. So I'm usually sending Boomer an email somewhere around Boomer around 6:30 in the morning
about
or 7, something
yep.
like that. Okay. But I send him all these links, and I've got the triple dipper on there. And each dipper then has like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 articles to go with it. And so when you hear me rattling paper, I've sent him all the links, and Boomer then comes in the morning, and he takes all those links and he formats them in a way and just prints them out so I can use them, all right? So get rid of all the ads and the fluff. Here's the deal. More than once I've had somebody say, what was that article you read? Or where was that again? And so I got to thinking, you know what? Why don't we do this? Every day when we're doing the show, you can go to rightsideradio.org. Go to the tab that says live stream, and right at the bottom of the page, it says a link for today's resources. You hit that, and it shows you exactly what I sent Boomer. You can go yourself and get every article that I'm referencing if you want to read it yourself or show it to somebody or print it. What doesn't matter. And it's all these different resources. Like today, I'm looking down the line. I've got stuff from 1819 News, CBS, Forbes, National Review, Daily Caller, Political Insider, Daily Mail, Fox News, Variety, National Review again. So anyway, all those links are on there. They're divided up by the dippers, 1, 2, and 3. So that's there for you now at rightsideradio.org. It'll be up there every day. If you hear me talk about a story, you should be able to find the link based on what dipper it was in. All right, there's that. And then the other thing that's cool, and we'll probably talk about it more after the break because I don't want to run out of time. Boom Shakalaka had an idea. He does that sometimes.
I have some ideas.
Every once in a while, you have an idea, brother, and you had a fine one. So we got
That's a good one.
We got a right side ruffian March Madness basketball bracket going right now.
That's right.
So tell them about it.
All right. So Right Side Ruffian March Madness bracket. You can find it. If you want to join, go to our website, rightsideradio.org, and it is at the top of any of the pages. All you have to do is click it. And then you can join, pick all of the teams that you think are going to win through the whole kick and caboodle, and then pick the champion. And then the tiebreaker is you have to score the championship game and make sure you push at the very bottom of it. When you're done, you push submit bracket.
Okay.
You got to do that.
Okay, I can
Submit
see me
bracket.
leaving that off because you're the techno guy. I'm going to be the dude where I'm the guy that they go, sir, have you tried rebooting yet? That's me. All right. So, So this is pretty self-explanatory. Once you click into it, it tells you the teams, and all you got to do is pick the winners.
Yeah, you just click on them. Click on the winners of each game, and it moves them to the next. Moves them to the next. The 32, the 16, the Elite 8, it moves them to the next one, and you just keep clicking until you want to...
Final Four and
Final
done.
Four, yeah.
All right, so even if you're like me and you're not a basketball aficionado, somebody who does not keep track of the stats, somebody who doesn't even know which teams are all in the bracket except that Auburn's in there, and that's all that matters.
That's all that matters,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. So if you're like me, you can still play this thing because it lays it out for you. All you got to do is click who you think would win.
Yeah, and McQueen's going to even play. She's going to pick the ones that have the prettiest uniforms. Prettiest jerseys.
Nice. Nice. Do a little online research. You're looking for stats? No, I want to see what their uniform looks like. Oh, cool.
That's what she said she's going to do.
Okay. All right. And so they do it, and we've already got a bunch of folks in it because I know you sent
Yeah, 40. We have 40 right now.
All right, so 40 people have already joined the bracket. Are we going to have prizes? Yes.
Yeah, might
Yeah,
as
we
well.
are.
This is going to be fun.
There will be swag. There will be right side swag for the winners or for the winner of the bracket. All right, so we got stuff. We're already laying aside stuff. And so if you want to join the March Madness Right Side Radio, Right Side Ruffian bracket, like he said, go to our website, rightsideradio.org, and right at the top of the page, in fact, the top of every page, that's pretty cool how you did that. Top of the page, you'll see it. It says your March Madness Live. Join our Ruffian bracket. Click on it and do what you got to do.
That's right.
It's
Bracket's
also
closed, though.
It's also appable. Am I correct on your
It
phone?
is appable, just the March Madness app. But once you click it, you can actually get into the app that way, too, and download it onto your phone.
All right.
So makes it easy.
I hear the music playing. That means we're going to break. Y'all stay tuned. We're coming right back with number 1 of the Triple Dipper. And we are back. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right. Covering down on some major ground across the northern half of the beautiful state of Alabama. I'm talking about this show goes way on down south of Birmingham, up north of Huntsville, Tuscaloosa, back to Gadsden, parts of Georgia, Tennessee, Mississippi. Thrown in just for good measure. I'm looking at the text line real quick too. Boomer, I see you've already welcomed in one of our newest texters, Kathy. Was Kathy with a K? Kathy from Madison. She's letting us know, too, there's a special election for city manager coming up in May in Madison, and she's with a grassroots group called Don't Mess with Madison. We'll be finding out more about that in the days to come. The election apparently is set for May 9th, so there's part of our listening area has got a special election in May. Special elections are notorious for poor turnout, so you got to watch. You can, some devilish stuff happens in a special election. You got to watch out because people aren't paying attention. So anyway, thank you, Kathy. Glad to have you in the text line. What else we got in there? TL from Huntsville's already thanked us for the links to all the resources. So TL, appreciate you. Thank you much. What else we got in here? With regards to my monologue, Raven from Russellville just says, the oath I took many years ago still stands. I can, and I will fight for our God-given rights, liberty, and freedom. Enough said. Appreciate you, Raven. Thank you much for your service. Semper Fi. And let's move. We got JT from Lacey Springs. He says the music bumps are mostly older than Boomer. That's true.
Yeah, they are.
That's not hard.
Some of them, yeah.
That's right. That's because I'm an old guy and I like old guy music.
But I enjoy this music as well.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Boomer has eclectic taste. He knows music.
I do.
You do.
I do.
Worked in that music industry for a while. Tell him about music. Music's Boomer. Tell you what. Hey, all right. So, number one of the Triple Dipper, which we're going to, take all the way through the top of the hour, when Andrew Ford from ZLA Solutions gets here. You hear me talk about ZLA Solutions all the time, and I tell you they are my friends. Yes, they are. Andrew Ford has been doing an amazing amount, he and his company, at lining up jobs and people. And I thought, you know what? They see the trends. They know what's happening. They know what employers are telling them about having to get people in. Are they lowering standards? Are they raising wages? What are they doing? What are the trends he sees? And is it all in manufacturing? Is it across the board, blue collar, white collar, that kind of stuff? So we're going to talk to Andrew Ford at top of the hour. Here's an article though you may want to know. Okay, where's Alabama stand right now? Where are we? Well, story on 1819 News came out yesterday. Says Alabama's unemployment and labor force participation rates remain unchanged in January. Now, unchanged is better than lower. You don't want that, or getting off the cycle. But what it also means, though, is that we're running decent numbers, but we're flat. In fact, I take it back. We're really not running decent numbers on labor participation, and we're going to talk about that more in a minute. Here are the numbers. January unemployment rate in Alabama remained unchanged from December, 2.6%. 2.6% unemployment sounds really good, and I'm not gonna diss it. I'd rather have 2.6 than 3.6, that's for sure. And the labor force participation rate in January also remained unchanged at 56.7%. That's the one we don't like. Labor force participation rate. So here's the thing. Unemployment just means here's how many people are out of work and they are applying for benefits or that kind of thing. Labor force participation means how many able-bodied individuals are just either looking for work or not looking for work. Like what percentage of Alabama that could work is choosing not to. And right now, only 56.7% of our potential workforce in Alabama is seeking or actively engaged in work. Well, that's really not good when you consider the national labor force participation rate is 62.4%. So we are running below the norms for the nation in terms of having a population that could work, choosing to work. And by the way, I don't get that. especially when you consider that I own, I have like several jobs, it feels like. The law firm is right downstairs here from the studio. So every single day, Boomer and I are upstairs working in the afternoon. I've already spent the morning, practicing law. And then, oh, by the way, early in the morning before that, getting this thing ready. And I'm thinking, where are the rest of you people that need to work? Because my understanding is the jobs are out there. And a 2.6% unemployment rate means I would just say this. If you want a job, there's jobs available. I mean, is it you don't like the jobs that are available? Is it that you've lost your love for work? Are you still sitting home with a mask on, scared of COVID? What's the deal? Well, there's a variety of things. Okay, here's where Alabama sits, though, because some counties, some cities are stronger than others. Well, the counties with the lowest unemployment rate, Shelby and Morgan, are the two strongest. Shelby County, down there just south of Birmingham, Shelby County, 1.8%. Morgan County, up yonder by Decatur and all that area, 2%. And then Marshall, Madison, Limestone, and Coleman were all at 2.1. What that tells me, when you look at the confluence of those counties, Marshall, Madison, Limestone, Coleman, and Morgan counties are all contiguous. That whole region is the strongest region in the state for unemployment numbers. That's great. Counties with the highest unemployment, Wilcox County, which is where Governor Ivey is from. Wilcox County, 8.8%. Imagine, you're at 1.8% in Shelby County. You're at 8.8% in Wilcox County. I can't explain that. There are fewer opportunities there, apparently, but I still look at it and go, wow. Clark County at 5.9%, and Dallas County at 5.4%. All right, how about cities? Those were counties. How about cities? Major cities with the lowest unemployment rate, Homewood, Madison, Alabaster, Trussville, Vestavia. And those were all in the ones. They were all mostly around 1.6 to 1.8%. So Homewood, Madison, Alabaster, Trussville, and Vestavia. Isn't that interesting? The municipalities, the counties with the overall best unemployment rates are all clustered in and around the Huntsville metro area, Decatur, Coleman, that area. But yet the municipalities with the cluster of best rates are down yonder, south of Birmingham. That's kind of weird. Major cities with the highest unemployment rates. I feel like I'm just quoting numbers here, but anyway, Selma, 6.4%. Pritchard, down there by Mobile, 5.2%, and Bessemer, south of Birmingham, 4.2%. Okay, that's where we are as a state, all right? But the labor force participation, the actual question of who's looking for work right now, the number of people who either are working or looking for a job, well, it's shrinking. Here's an article from CBS. Once again, these resources are all available for you on our website. Go to the rightsideradio.org, go to the live stream page, scroll to the bottom of it. You'll see a button that says, resources for today's show, and it takes you to all these links for all these stories. Well, the labor participation rate remains surprisingly resilient, it says, with the U.S. adding more jobs. The labor market remains resilient, with the U.S. adding more jobs than expected in November. This article came out in December, by the way. And yet that job growth is masking a trend that's pressuring employers and the economy alike. Here's the deal. The labor force, it says, is actually shrinking. That means the number of people looking for or participating in a job, it declined by 186,000 from November to December of last year. What? Where did they go? 186,000 people just dropped out of the workforce. What the frick, man? How do you lose 186,000 people in a month? Well, granted, we have hundreds of millions, but still. It says the labor force participation rate, or the percentage of working age adults who have a job, fell to 62.1%. Now that's still off of pre-pandemic. All right. So it's like everything just got shook up during the pandemic and has yet to fully recover. It says the dichotomy of job growth, meaning there's more jobs out there, combined with a shrinking pool of workers, underscores the tensions facing the U.S. economy at this moment. The Federal Reserve wants to put the brakes on the economy, cool the labor market, yet employers are now pulling out all the stops to find workers, as many remain sidelined due to sickness and child care issues. And a lot of baby boomers are retiring. So what they're saying here is this. the economy's picking back up. More jobs are available. Fewer people are available for the jobs. It makes the employers then have to raise the wages and do other things to lure people back into the job force. More money flooding into the economy at a time when inflation is high means there's more people with money, less goods to buy. It just freaks out the economy. So the labor force participation rate becomes the driving force in what we're doing. You want to see a recovering economy? You see more people available to work. And when you have that even homeostasis between, oh, there's a great word, Boomer, where did that word come from? Something in my 10th grade biology class, I believe. When you find that homeostasis that levels things off between job availability and job force availability, then you begin to see economy starting to go, right now we got an economy that's still screeching like its brakes are getting old. All right. I feel like I need to take a break right now because I've overwhelmed myself with big words and lots of numbers. Let's do that, Boomer. Take the break right now. We'll come back and keep talking about this. Labor force participation. What does that mean to us? Top of the hour, Andrew Ford from ZLA Solutions. We'll do it. See you then. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right. Making it cool to be a conservative. I just got a text a minute ago from Steve from Owens Crossroads. And so apparently Steve and I are roughly the same age. He says, Mr. Dr. Colonel Phil, you can say you are tenured. You can say you are experienced. You can even say you've been aged, but never, ever say you're old. He says, I'm an 81 graduate of the Huntsville City Schools, and I am not old. You are right. And you are actually just a little older than me, Steve from Owens Crossroads, but I am an 83 graduate of the Huntsville City Schools. And okay, we're not old. I have grandkids, but I'm not old. You're not old. Awesome. All right, good enough. What else we got here? Let me take a look at the text lines. Brian from Huntsville, he says, job report. What about the differential where people take 2 or more jobs so as not to be parasites? I don't know how to. Is he talking about me? I don't know. Maybe he's talking about me. John from Pike Road, he says, Phil, the federal government paid folks not to work, plus many in their late teens, early to mid-20s just don't want to work. And he references again, remember John from Pike Road used to work for Goodyear. He says, take Goodyear in its prime, employed over 4,600. And this day and time, I doubt very seriously they could find that many that want to work. That's not a bad point, John. But you know what? I will say this. Part of it is culture. I had the monologue earlier. I said patriotism is learned. There are aspects of a work ethic that are also learned. And it's important that we, bring that around. Anyway, what else we got here? We've got a caller on the line, bud. I'll go ahead and just take it right quick before I start the next thing. Steve from Huntsville. Let me talk about it. Steve, how you doing, man?
Good, Colonel. How you doing?
I'm good, sir. What's on your mind?
Well, you were talking about employment and stuff, and it's something that's been on my mind a lot. I'm a union plumber.
Yeah.
And, we do pretty good. We do better than the private sector, and as far as getting paid. But here recently, to get kids interested in the trades, they actually went from starting pay at $15 an hour to $18 an hour because
Really?
they just can't find them. And these are kids straight out of high school.
Yeah.
They don't have to have any experience, can't even read a tape measure. And, I'm not sure what's going on. I don't know if everybody's living at home with mom or what, but you were talking about old. I'm just turned 50 last year. I got 5 grandkids, and I told my kids, hey, do I need to tell y'all how that happens so you can slow down? But anyway, I mean, you got, people have some of them look down on the union because, we pay union dues and we do this. And I can tell you my union dues are $67 a month, but, what are people paying for insurance? Because I don't. And I've got family coverage. So it really works out in the end. And you can't incentivize somebody to come in and what they make an hour is actually what they bring home on their check minus their taxes. Because our insurance is paid for on top of what we make, and our retirement and stuff is paid for on top of what we make. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been with my current company for just over 5 years, and I was able to take a $25,000 loan out to buy a house last year. And every penny of that money came from my employer's contribution.
So let me ask you a question, though, about those kids you're talking about who are getting paid $18 an hour as opposed to the recent 15. When they come in, what are you seeing in terms of work ethic and capacity? Are you seeing like a sharp type person who's ready to get to work and go at it and do what they got to do, or are you having to even drag them into it? It's
really about 20%. That anything in the trades is really just logic. I mean, you don't have to be great at math, but you have to be able to understand what a right angle is.
Yeah.
You have to be able to, pull 12 inches and cut it 12 inches, not 13 and a half, please. But, they just have to admit that they have to commit to a 5-year program where they go to school, and they're in school the same time that the regular schools are in, so they get summer off. They go 2-3 nights a week. But during that time, as they build hours, they acquire raises. And at the end of it, if they've held on and they've gone all the way through it, they come out a journeyman plumber. They make $31 an hour, and they could be 24, 25 years old. And you can go on the road and make that kind of money, and then also get $100 a night per diem. And if you play your cards right, a lot of these guys will go buy travel trailers, and they'll drag them to a job site where they're going to be for a couple months and stay in it at $32 a night and pocket the rest of the money.
Yeah, when I was in the legislature, one of the things, Steve, that I was able to do, I was a sponsor of a dual enrollment bill that let kids in high school also dual enroll in a tech program at a junior college and graduate with their certificate. They were leaving high school with a diploma and their entry level certificate in electricians or in plumbing or pipe fitting, or for that matter, even in welding. Go down to the boat yards in Austell. You're making $60 an hour sometimes starting off, and just being a welder.
Well, you get that just being an elevator technician. There's not an elevator technician in the country that makes less than $60 an hour, and every one of them are union.
Nice. Well,
it doesn't matter what elevator company you hire; they are going to be a union company.
But it's still got to have the want to. That's the thing. You still got to have the kids with the want to. So I guess with about a minute left here, let me ask you this: are you seeing kids with the want to?
The want to, about 20% of them. I think that the biggest problem that we have right now is it's a construction site. Now, Colonel, you were in the military, and there are things that are said that would get you thrown in jail if you worked at a bank and said those things to a teller.
True.
And these guys, they do not have. There's a saying in the construction field: you leave your feelings in the truck. And
I get it.
If you come out there and somebody starts getting on to you because you've made a mistake, it's not personal.
There's no place for snowflakes.
Do better next time, and it definitely ain't no place for snowflakes.
Steve, I got to run, man. We're about to hit the break, but
I appreciate it.
Great call. Appreciate you. Thanks for being a listener. And I agree. I mean, I think what he said though is something I was about to get to in my material. As we're heading into the break, I'll just tell you, one of the things that I saw in the source material that I've got for today's show is that in order to reach the people and get them back into the job force because the labor force participation rate is low, in order to drag them back into the labor force, you're having to see employers raise the amount that they will pay or the packages they'll provide. Otherwise, they can't get people. It's a conundrum. All right, we're going to talk to Andrew Ford from ZLA Solutions about this in a few minutes. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back.
You're listening live to Rightside Radio with Phil Williams. It's hard to go wrong when you're on the right side. Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama's syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national. We cover down on all the issues, and like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Hour number 2. All right, so we've been kind of nugging our way through this first part of the Triple Dipper, talking and I named this part of the section of the Triple Dipper, get a job. Well, yeah. Some of that, though, is getting people back into the idea of getting a job. So Alabama has a great unemployment rate, 2.6%. Alabama's labor participation rate sucks. So we are doing worse than the national average on labor force participation, but yet our unemployment rate's good. And we're seeing all kinds of stuff like what employers are having to do to get people back in the workforce because we have more jobs than we have people is what it feels like. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but it feels that way. Anyway, you hear me talk about ZLA Solutions all the time. ZLA Solutions, if you want to check them out, their website is www.zlausa.com. I've told you multiple times that they just came off their best year ever. And their bread and butter, man, aside from all the things they do, like they can help you with logistics and warehousing and quality control and sorting and containment and all that stuff, but their bread and butter is still staffing, putting people in jobs together, temp or direct hire. And I always kind of say blue collar, white collar, no collar, don't matter. They can find the people. Well, they've had their best year ever, but I figured if anybody knows the trends on this stuff, it's going to be them. So I called them and I said, hey, man, as long as I'm bragging on you every day and talking about jobs anyway, can we get Andrew on so Andrew Ford, president of ZLA Solutions, is on the line. How you doing, my friend?
Well, Phil, I am wonderful, and thank you for having me on again. Obviously, I love being on your show. And by the way, the intro, I know I say this every time, it gets me motivated with a guitar playing. But anyway, no, it's thank you for the kind words, and it has been a good year. But in my industry, it's kind of a good year for a bad reason. So I mean, it's just because there's so many jobs available and so many companies, need companies like mine to be able to help them just keep their workforce, moving enough to be able to sell their goods and back up what they tell their customers, right?
Yeah.
So it has been obviously the hardest 2 years in the industry ever just to get people overall to work, but there's been more jobs ever in the industry. So it's a double-edged sword for my line of work, but what I'm seeing, to really answer your overall question to start about the labor participation / unemployment is in some industries it is getting much, much better, but in some industries it has improved zero. So it really, to answer that question, is it's industry specific from what I'm seeing, not necessarily overall. Like a perfect example, I'm allowed to say, UAB Hospital, for instance, for us, where we've been, helping them hiring for multiple years now, had to put in a very, lucrative incentive pay just, to be able to get people to come in and work on the weekend during COVID and all of that. But it is finally 2 years later, been able to finally come back around to where they're able to do more steady hiring, not have to overload all the incentives just to get people to come back to work. So that shows me at least their industry is leveling out. But then you have the automotive industry, for instance, that it seems like is actually going backwards. So when it comes to production levels and employees, right now, Phil, anyone with entry-level skills that wants a job, can go to any factory whatsoever and get, said job, right? Because people like me and my company and, tens of others, are trying to help the entire industry right now. So no, if jobs are out there and people want them, they can get them. So the labor participation rate in some industries is good because people want to go back to work in that industry, but in some, I don't ever see it recovering.
Well,
like the auto industry.
Wow, I don't want to hear that. But let me ask you this: we just right before you came on, right before our top of the hour break, We had a guy, I think it was Steve from Huntsville, called in. He works in the trades, and he said that he's aware that some of the union wages on job sites he works as a union a pipe fitter. He said they had to raise it entry level from $15 to $18 an hour just to get people in, because what existed pre-pandemic wasn't drawing people in anymore. Are you? Is that what you're seeing? I mean, I heard you say that UAB had to increase their package.
100%. Well, let's talk about pipe fitters, because we just got a new customer in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, who needs 25 pipe fitters, because they're obviously a commercial pipe fitting company, and so, but for 1 year of experience as a certified Boilermaker or pipe fitter, 1 year, $25 to $30 an hour.
Wow.
So. Yes, and that is verifiable. You can go on our website and see, 25 jobs right now for that right now. So
does that allow for overtime too?
That guy said,
they,
absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. So, I mean, the industry is just changing overall for trades. We just this week picked up a brand new customer in Birmingham, Alabama, where they actually mass produce entire rooms, right, that you can ship to like a hospital or a critical care place or whatever, and it's like glorified kitting for contractors, right? Like an entire room with bathroom, with the plumbing, the electrical, the tile floor, the whole thing done, and it can be railed to them, right, and then installed pretty much. We are hiring almost 100 people being able to do simple, and I'm not going to say simple, but tiling a floor. It's you put the mud down and put the tile down and make some cuts, and all that. But in mass production environments, up to $30 an hour.
Wow.
So, oh yeah, I mean, so the job market is changing in a sense of you go get a little skill, and you can make a lot more money than you could have prior, COVID. That's for sure.
Well, so wow. What about this? Let me ask you this. So we're seeing in some cases, like you said, and like the other listener just said, that they're increasing wages and packages and offerings to get people in. What about the lowering of standards? Have you seen them have to lower standards? Like, what are you doing on criminal background checks? Has that changed? What are you doing on drug testing? Has that changed? What are you
still
seeing?
Has, yes. Okay, so yes on both. We have multiple customers, one in Georgia, but really only two in Alabama and one in Georgia that have already removed THC from their drug screens.
Wow.
It doesn't even exist. Yeah, I mean, even though it's still illegal in the state of Alabama, they just removed it from their drug screens. And then we have, and this is multiple customers have removed their felony background check parameter to where if it is, it's not a kick out. It just like, say, for instance, it couldn't be a violent felony, in the last few. So, I mean, you're seeing much, much, much more graceful, lenient policies in regards to background now.
Yeah.
So that is, and I've always been a proponent of it was entirely too strict on felons because, everybody messes up sometimes. Not everybody, but people mess up. And when they do, they still have to have the ability, to earn some sort of income or they're going to be back incarcerated, So I've always been a big proponent of that. But it's, so to coincide with that just means, more competition in the market. And I mean, it's, again, the excuse of not being able to get a job it's kind of gone away.
Yeah, well, and you're right. I mean, which is still kind of mystifying. So how many people do you see? Because I know you guys do a ton of onboarding. You have people applying for jobs all over the place. So how many people do you see that have not even been working since COVID that are just now coming back in? And do you ever hear the conversation like, I'm scared to go back to work because of COVID?
No.
Okay.
No, that's kind of dead.
Good.
Yeah.
Glad.
No, we don't ever really hear that anymore. Yeah. Now, granted, you remember it used to be all day, every day we were hearing that, but no, that's not really a thing anymore. It's just I can't really put one thing on it anymore, Phil. That used to be the easy thing to blame. Was everyone was worried about that, and it was this and this and this, and now that it's a couple years later, there's still almost the same amount of jobs open and the same need. So has it really gotten better? I don't know.
And so I guess from what you described, a lot of your hiring is for on-site employment. You're not doing a lot of remote telework kind of stuff, are you?
No, sir.
Okay. Well,
No,
what about
we are
white
not.
collar? Because I know you guys have a push right now where you're hiring for a high tech opportunity at Redstone Arsenal. So,
Yes, sir.
are you seeing the same kind of trends that you saw in the blue collar side of hiring happening in the white collar side too?
No, not yet, really. It's the same parameter. Well, I take that back. I would say years of experience, for those style jobs may be getting more lax. Like, instead of a network engineer needing, 5 or 6 years experience, now it may be 2 to 3.
Okay.
Or things like that. So there are some things, on that line, on that side of the business that, I guess have gotten more lax, but not really. Those have stayed pretty the same. And I will admit, the salaried positions you have not seen an increase in salaried roles like the actual amount, like say a production supervisor, at Toyota 3 years ago before COVID. We would get them in hired up to, as high as a $70K base salary, straight time, overtime, things like that. 3 years later, right? It has not changed a bit.
Okay.
It is still the identical pay rate. So that is interesting to me, that it's the stuff with skill, and things like that, other than your trades, like supervision, management, operations, financial, things like that. You have seen zero increase in overall wage there, or at least I haven't. And I mean, we have almost 100 different, direct hire salaried roles open, on our website, between our customers, and those we have not seen increase. But every single solitary one of them have had probably a 30% increase in overall hourly wage, for entry level.
Interesting. All right. Well, listen, the fight continues. Brother, I appreciate you making some time. I know you got plenty going on over there at the office. Shameless plug here. I guess while we're talking, you want to tell them where they can find out more about you and how to apply for jobs?
Yes, sir. No, I appreciate it, man. And as always, we're ZLA Solutions. We're in Madison and Coleman and Birmingham, Gadsden, all different parts of Georgia. We can help you get a job. Give us a call at, our corporate office, but mainly go see us at zlausa.com. And we've got all of our jobs listed there. You can contact all of our individual offices, and we are here to help. So like I've said a million times, Phil, thank you for the shameless plug, but we are here to help try to get people jobs, and I appreciate any help we can get.
All right, Andrew Ford, appreciate your time, man. Have a great day.
Yes, sir. Hey, have a great day. Thanks.
Yeah, bud. All right, Boomer, move us to a break, brother. I ran about a minute longer than usual, but I mean, you're hearing a guy who's in the industry right now. That's all he does is daily put jobs with clients and clients with jobs. And if anybody's seeing the trends, he is. We'll come right back. I'll wrap this up, tell you some of the other labor forces that are out there that we're seeing, hearing, and talk about how it impacts our economy. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. We'll be right back. we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Got to have some Ted Nugent bump. Gotta have it.
He's gonna call and get on to me again. He's gonna cuss me out.
Can't do that. You should only have to be cussed out by Ted Nugent once in your life.
Just one time.
Yeah, that's all it takes. By the way, that I sent that podcast to somebody just this past weekend. If you've never heard our interview with Ted Nugent or any of our other guests along the way, you can always find them. Our podcasts are out there. On what, Boomer? I guess virtually every podcasting forum known to man, right?
Any podcast forum that you like, go to it and then search Rightside Radio.
Rightside Radio. Thank you. That's all right. Yeah. And the podcast is like kicking. We're pushing 126,000 right now.
Yeah, super close.
But you guys, so you mentioned it, not a Freudian slip, a real deal comment. So there's another podcast that we started, about 4 weeks ago, Boom?
Yeah, a little over 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, the Right Life podcast,
Correct.
A part of the Right Side multiverse. The Right Life podcast is Boomer and the lovely McQueen talking about life and things that they, deal with as parents and whatever else in society that comes up.
Absolutely.
And by the way, it's a lot of fun. The one you just did with the folks that own the Chick-fil-A franchise.
Yes.
I found that fascinating.
Yeah, and then we have another one coming out this week. It's with actually my sister, who was adopted from Ukraine, and she's telling her story.
Listen, so one of my favorite days in the legislature was passing a law to change the way we do foreign adoptions, and we named it after your sister. I'm just saying.
Karina's Law.
Karina's Law.
Ah,
it is law in Alabama.
Amazing.
All right, hey, listen, let's put a pin in this thing. So the number one thing on the Triple Dipper today, get a job. All right, you can get a job. You want a job, there's jobs out there. I'm just saying. All right. How bad do you want one? I mean, and oh, by the way, what is it you're looking for? If you're not working right now, but you could, why? I guess is the question. And truth be told, there's a lot of folks that are not in the labor force for all the right reasons. I mean, love stay-at-home parents because they're taking care of their kids. Love the fact that some people are taking care of family members, and other folks have earned their retirement and they went ahead and retired early because the pandemic just said, you know what, I'm done. But if there's not any of those, if you're just not participating because you just gotten out of the habit or you got paid enough to sit at home or what, get up off the couch, turn off the TV, put down the bag of ho-hos and get back in the labor force. The explanations that we hear from the Department of Labor, Bureau of Labor Statistics, is that a lot of what we're seeing that people are just not quite getting over yet is literally, according to an article here from January 25th, so it's pretty recent from Forbes, they still cite things like fear of getting COVID. Stop it. Get over yourself. The world's going to be okay. Higher unemployment benefits. Stop it. Taxpayers shouldn't be paying your way unless we have to, all right? Get back in the business of going to work. Increased dependent care needs, I get it. That's taking care of, that's like you don't have daycare for your kids. I get it. That's an issue. That's real. Desire for higher wages. Well, go find them because they exist. Slower population growth. I have no idea what that means. Why is that a thing? Slower population growth. Fewer people being born. Well, they're not in the workforce for the next 18 years anyway. But we also see, by the way, some demographics are doing better. Believe it or not, there are more people, allegedly by Investopedia here, there's more people in the black community who are at work now since 2008. Well, that's a great stat. But there are more older workers who have dropped out because of earlier retirements. There's that. Anyway, the bottom line is this. When you look at low unemployment rates, take heart because we are seeing a good number, even in Alabama, 2.6%. But the thing that matters, what drives the train right now, is the labor force participation rate. And Alabama's labor force participation rate is worse than the national average. We've got to get people back in the workforce. No more of this sitting at home, on your keister. Let's get her done. Let's get back in there. Let's make Alabama productive. Best state in the nation to live in, I think. Get them back to work. All right, that's it. We'll come right back. Going to talk about some wokeness and how to deprogram woke. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. We'll be right back. back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative and just plain right. Covering down on some major ground across the northern half of the most beautiful state in the nation, Alabama. I'm talking about this show goes way on down south of Birmingham, up north of Huntsville, Tuscaloosa, back over to Gadsden, parts of Georgia, Tennessee, Mississippi. Thrown in just for good measure. I love doing that. I try to save that for like once an hour. I only do that. I don't let myself do that more than once an hour. But what's going to happen, Boomer, when some of these conversations that we're having about expanding the show even further, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to make up a new montage.
You're going to have to make up a new talking
a new
montage.
Blurb. Yes, like I have to find a new way to blurb it. From sea to signing she. I don't know. Anyway, okay. Hey, by the way, before I get into the next part of the Triple Dipper, gotta tell you, we got a thing going on. So the Boomer had an idea, and ideas are considered good around here.
Yeah.
And you did. So right now it's March Madness is about to kick off. And Boomer comes to me the other day and he goes, "Hey, what if we do a Right Side Ruffian March Madness bracket?" And I'm like, "How do we manage that?" Because the last time I did a bracket, it was on a piece of paper with a stubby pencil. And everybody had to turn it in to the office secretary so that, we could lock it in. But no. Boomer does technology. So tell them the deal.
Yeah, so the Right Side Ruffian March Madness bracket. If you want to join, go to our website at rightsideradio.org. And at the top, you're going to see where you can just click it, and it's going to take you to the March Madness page where you can sign up, pick your teams, do all that stuff, and you will be entered into our bracket, which is going to be a lot of fun.
And they actually like have to select the March, take them right to the Right Side Ruffian one.
Right, it'll ask you to join the Right Side Ruffian bracket. You have to sign up, just through their little app, and then once you're done selecting all your teams, make sure you push submit. It's right under the last championship choice, and then you will be submitted, and it's going to be great.
All right, and we got scores of people already doing it.
Oh yeah,
like dozens of people have already done it because you sent out a reminder text to those who were in our text system today, and a bunch of folks did it before the show even started.
Right.
So yeah, we're and by the way, you got a deadline on this.
We got a deadline.
First tip off is Thursday.
Right. First tip off. That's everything closes. It is locked after that point. If you want to go to the website, check it out on the website. If you just want to text in and you've never texted in before, 833-687-4448. Text in and just say, "Hey, I want to join the Right Side March Madness." I'll send you a link right away.
Cool.
Easy.
All right. Well, that's all right. So first of all, good job. Secondly, good job. But that's just cool. So, by the way, we're gonna have swag prizes.
Yeah.
So we're gonna the person who wins. And you, did you say it a moment ago? Well, you said it earlier in the show that the very last game, you wonder, okay, what happens if we have 50 people that choose the same two teams and 25 of those pick the right team winning? You still have to win this thing by selecting the score.
You do. And it's a point margin item. So however many teams you choose in each bracket, it selects all the different points and stuff. So
are you
it's
doing
very
algebra
rare.
now? Is this algebra?
All algebraic.
Come on, now.
Equations.
Don't make me do algebra.
We don't have to do it. It's all algorithmed out.
All right. If you're like me, you're not good at math, and you're also don't keep up with basketball a lot. You can still do it because it works out. It works out well.
Absolutely.
All right, that's very cool. All right, so yeah, go to our website www.rightsideradio.org. And right there at the top of every single page, it says, "Join our Right Side Ruffian March Madness bracket." And we'll tell you tomorrow how many people we got. And by Thursday, it locks out because that's when the games start. So you gotta get in there and get her done. All right, I'm going to go to number 2 on the Triple Dipper, deprogramming woke. It's amazing to me what's going on college campuses. Now, first of all, there's still a lot of good folks getting a good education on a lot of good college campuses. Some better than others. That's always the way it's been. But yeah, it's also amazing how much woke crap is on college campuses right now. I look at it and go, come on, man. This is supposed to be a college education. It's a place where you expand your mind, not shut your mind down. You might actually hear a differing perspective and learn how to debate. Or maybe, just maybe, you might actually be able to realize that there is truth in the world and not just your truth in the world. It literally gets to be, and I as I'm about to get into these resources I've got, and I'm going to play you a quote in a little, or audio clip in a little while. I couldn't help but think of, all right, now I am dating myself, but a song from, I believe, the early 90s by the Indigo Girls called Closer to Fine. And some of y'all are going to start singing it in your head right now. But Indigo Girls had a song called Closer to Fine. At one part in the song, they said, I spent 4 years prostate to the higher mind, got my paper, and I was free. Well, my sense right now is that on some campuses, there are kids having to gut it out to get their education and get away from some of the crap, because we do have conservative kids out there getting an education. We do. We also have those kids that are not necessarily choosing sides. They want to be left alone because they want to learn whatever it is they came there to learn. And then we have activists. And all too often, by the way, the activism is within the ranks of the faculty of the education arena. And that's it's just, now I know it's been that way since time immemorial. You know, there's the whole thing about, you know, there were folks who were activists, and then when they retired from activism, they went to teach in the university systems. And then they get tenured, and then they lock it in, man. Here's a piece that started some of this for me. I was looking at this story on Daily Caller. Daily Caller, I believe, is the publication wing of the Heritage Foundation. Daily Caller has a piece about a lady who was teaching at a California community college. And by the way, she was the diversity, equity, and inclusion director at a community college. Why is it necessary for everybody in the world to have a DEI coordinator now? Used to be that was what HR did. Human Resources made sure you didn't discriminate. Human Resources handled your complaints. Human Resources made sure payroll was correct. Now you got to have Human Resources and a diversity, equity, and inclusion director. The interesting thing is Dr. Tabitha Lee, who was the DEI coordinator for De Anza College, a 2-year community college in California, said she was fired because she wasn't woke enough. They were literally saying, we're really not about diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're about agendas. They were pretty brazen about it too, according to her. She says that she was fired on March 6th this year because she did not adhere to, quote, specific narratives on racial issues. She claims she was punished in part for questioning certain anti-racism efforts within the school. She was accused of white-splaining and white supremacy, and she was called a right-wing extremist. By the way, she's black. You can see where this is going. It's pretty bad when allegedly you're the DEI coordinator for a California community college and you're fired because you're not woke enough and you're accused of being a white supremacist and, oh, by the way, you're black. What in God's name is going on that college campus? Well, she points out, she says her peers on the campus expected her to hold certain viewpoints. And when it was revealed that her viewpoints differed from theirs, she got all kinds of backlash. Her words. They wanted a black person to do this job, and apparently I'm the wrong kind of black. Wow. On the campus. Well, here's the thing. There's this thing going on right now on college campuses that is indoctrinating people, especially, younger folks, to believe that there's a narrative out there that they must adhere to. And if they don't, they are racist, or they are privileged, or they're just not going to make it. Well, I got news. It's a lie. When we come back from this break, we'll come back in a minute. And I want to talk about this because what we have to do is begin deprogramming woke. All you right side ruffians out there got to be ready for those conversations. And it's not just about, raising your kids at home. It's about the time when you're going to be on the job and you're going to be confronted with something, or it's going to be about somebody who comes home from work and they talk to you and they need advice. How do we deprogram wokeness from our society? We'll talk about it after this break. But we're going to go ahead and move to the break, brother. We'll do that right now. We'll come back from this break, and I'm going to play a clip for you you're going to want to hear where literally one kid didn't know what to do when he was asked why he believed in some of the woke ideology he'd been trained on. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. We'll be right back. we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Hey, by the way, I got a text from Alex from Elkmont. He says, "What was that quote yesterday that you saved to put on the wall?" Oh, yeah. Let me make sure I say it right. It was Alex. Thank you for that. It was hilarious. Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana. He cracks me up anyway. But with regards to Biden's budget proposal, here's the quote. His quote was, "Well, anything seems possible when you don't know what you're talking about." That was just epic. So, yeah. All right, Alex from Elkmont, thank you much. Appreciate you asking. And, yes, that is a quote for the ages, in my opinion. Anything seems possible when you don't know what you're talking about. All right. Hey, listen, don't forget the March Madness bracket. You can go on our website, rightsideradio.org. And right at the top of the page, top right of the page, you'll see it. It says March Madness, and it says join our Ruffian bracket. So we've got the Right Side Ruffian bracket. All you got to do is click on it, follow the steps it tells you. You'll be in the system. It locks out pretty soon because the first game is Thursday. And we do have swag. We have prizes. So if you win the bracket, you'll win some Right Side stuff. So join up, even if you don't know much about basketball, like me. I know basketball. I don't know much about these teams, so I'm gonna be looking at it going, well, I like them. But anyway, check it out. Pick your bracket, lock it in. Ruffian bracket up on rightsideradio.org. All right, I am in number 2 of the Triple Dipper. Deprogramming woke. Boomer, I'm gonna need that audio here shortly. Boomer's got somebody on the phone, and I know I'm trying to get him to do 19 things at one time. But so here's the deal. I found this story on the Political Insider. You may be familiar with Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk's organization. Turning Point USA reporter Savannah Hernandez, according to this story that came up on politicalinsider.com, she went out to University of Texas, Austin, the UT Austin campus, and just did like man-on-the-street interviews. And she walks up to this one guy, and she asks him a very simple question. Basically, she wants to know about white privilege and what he thinks about it. You can tell this kid this is a bless your heart moment. All right, this is a bless his heart, because old boy came across as dumb as a bag of hammers, but he and a bag of hammers ain't that bright. But he came across well-meaning, well-intentioned. The young lady doing the interviewing, she's a Latina, and she's basically saying, "Hey, what makes you think that you're any different than me?" You got that clip, Boomer? Let's go ahead and just play it. Go ahead.
I grew up as a white man, and you're the exact opposite, and so it's like my experiences are going to be different from yours.
How come?
I think, there's a thing of like white privilege.
What privileges do you have that I don't have?
Oh, see, that's the question I keep asking myself, because like in this day and age, like all the laws, it's hard to speak on something I'm not fully knowledgeable of. So like, I'm sorry if I like make a mistake in saying this, but it's
Don't you think it's a problem in society when white people think that they have more privileges than brown or black people?
Yeah, and I think that's sort of the agenda that's pushed off, because personally, it's like, not that I think I'm more privileged than anyone else, because I had to work to get where I was, and that's like the...
So why do you have that mentality immediately where you kind of apologize to me, like, let's talk about privilege, let's talk about I'm a white man in America, so we could have grown up differently.
Got you.
Why is that your first initial reaction to me as a brown woman?
Wow, you're getting me good. See, these are the kind of conversations that I love having. And I think it comes from a place of like, I wouldn't say caution, but like in this day and age, people are so quick to judge and react and cancel. And so I guess it's that like caution to go into an interview like this. I'm like, I don't know where we're at, but now I know where we're at, and I can like go for real.
Okay, go for real. Okay, all right, I'll stop pretending I've got to stay with the narrative, and I guess I'll just go for real. Look, dude, here's the thing. And bless his heart. I mean, the guy was trying hard. He didn't know what to do. He immediately assumed when a young Hispanic lady walked up to him with a microphone that he had to stick with a certain narrative in order to be right. But he was wrong. And so he immediately assumed that what she wanted to hear was that white privilege matters, and what she immediately did was ask him questions about why he even thinks he has white privilege. I mean, what a great question. She looks at him and says, so you're white, so why do you think you have privileges that I don't have? Well, when you've been programmed to just, head down that road, like he said, he assumed. He didn't know what to do. He thought that was where we were, but now that I know that's not where we are, then I guess I can go ahead and be for real. Dude, you even said you had to work to get you where you were. He said that. I had to work to get to where I am. Well, then what makes you think you got privilege and you have to apologize? Stop apologizing. I tell you what, I got a couple. Is that Lee? Lee from Huntsville's on the line. Hello, Lee from Huntsville. How you doing?
I am great. You got a good show going today.
Thank you, sister. What you got?
And you're taking over for me very well, I must say. I heard that comment on Friday, and I just had to laugh. Right.
Proud to serve.
Well, okay. So, de-woke or end wokeness. Well, it's going to take, well, first of all, it's in the school systems, it's in the universities.
Yeah.
And until we make the changes there, it's just going to keep getting worse. People need to, they need to start attending school board meetings. They need to start moving their kids to private school or moving their kids to homeschool. They need to be serious about this because this is like an insidious creep, and it will eventually rot the whole system. I mean, if we don't make changes now, we are on the cusp of where we can't make the changes anymore. So we must do it now. And number two is you have to stop feeling as if there's this victim and oppressor mentality. There's not.
Yep.
It's wrong. It doesn't exist. And if anybody heard my conversation with my closest friend, who is a black woman, on your show, they'll know that all black people don't believe that. All brown people don't believe that. This is again, I use the word insidious type of just lie that's being told to people. And white people are sitting there feeling guilty and saying, I'm sorry. And, other ethnicities are sitting there going, oh, wait, am I oppressed? It's evil. And what it is it's a divisional tactic by the Marxists.
There you go.
In order to divide us.
That's right.
It. This is all this is. And until we wake up and realize it's all a lie, and we're just trying to be divided in order to bring down the United States of America as the end game, that's what this is. They know they can't do it in the old-fashioned way of the Russians because we don't have class systems like they did there. They have to do it another way, and this is what they chose.
Oh, perfectly said, Lee. There you go. I am proud to be your understudy. All right, sister, have a great weekend, all right?
You too.
All right. She's right, though, and that's the thing. I said earlier in my monologue in the beginning of the show, if you didn't hear it, I encourage you to get it, with regards to patriotism, that patriotism is learned. Well, you know what? Some of this stuff we're talking about, deprogramming woke, what you're doing is you're having to officially unlearn. As they're being told, like that kid in the recording a minute ago, he had been told that he needed to go to a conversation like this, an interview like this, with the expectation that he should be willing to apologize for who he is. God made him a certain way, but he needed to apologize for it. Well, screw that. We don't have to apologize because God doesn't make mistakes. So if that's the case, then why are we apologizing for what we are in terms of how we're made? All right, we got more of this. When we come right back, we're going to be talking about deprogramming woke. Y'all stay with us. We'll be right back.
You're listening live to Rightside Radio with Phil Williams. It's hard to go wrong when you're on the right side. Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama's syndicated news talk leader, Right Side Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Right Side studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, sometimes the international. And yeah, like the dude just said, we cover down on all of it. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Hour number 3. Boomer, how is it hour number 3?
I don't know. That's what I was just asking you. Wait, we're going into hour number 3. I should know this.
That's pretty interesting. Wow. Okay. Hey, I'll tell you what. I got a caller who held on there on the line during the break. So let me grab that and respect his time. Chadwick from Hartselle. Chadwick, how you doing?
Hey, everybody. Thanks for taking my call. Love you guys. Love what you do.
Thanks, man.
I was just going to make a comment on the last segment. Every time I listen to things like that, I always try to learn something or try to apply something in my own life. And, even though, she was asking him the questions very respectively, not aggressively, and it was really cool kind of seeing the evolution of that conversation because, like y'all said, he was kind of just telling her what he thought she wanted to know.
Yeah.
But at the end of it, it seemed like he actually learned something. And
Yeah.
he was actually, maybe in the future, he will not be afraid to kind of really stand up for something like that. And I really, my whole point is I really hope that, on the right side, left side, Democrat, Republican, I wish we could talk to each other kind of like that more, in a two-way discussion. Maybe I'll learn something from you. Maybe you'll learn something from me, and just, listen to each other out instead of just yelling, shouting, putting each other down. I really feel like that was a really good example of the right way to try to get a point across.
So, perfect point. Chadwick, are you reading my notes? What happened here? You just snuck in here and stole my notes. That's just what it sounds like.
No, sir, I don't have that kind of power, I promise.
No, but your point is perfectly made, and I'll go ahead and give my conclusion right now, which is basically what you just said, is that if we're going to deprogram wokeness, part of it means we have to be able to have discourse. The only way someone can learn the other side and maybe get deprogrammed is to be able to hear what the other side has to say. And if we don't do that, if we miss those opportunities, then we miss an opportunity, A, to understand where they're coming from, but B, to maybe help them out of the morass they've gotten themselves into with woke ideology that really doesn't make sense in the big picture. So, you're spot on, Chadwick. Spot on. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank y'all. Have a good day.
All right, man. Have a good one. That was like, if I could have handed him a Right Side T-shirt, I would have done it right there on the spot. But and that's the case. In fact, it leads directly to the next article that I was about to get to. And by the way, the point he made, that Chadwick just made, the article that started all this, the reason why this section of the Triple Dipper is called Deprogramming Woke is because the article that led me to the audio link that I played earlier is headlined as this: College Bro Gets Deprogrammed About White Privilege by Latina Turning Point USA Reporter. And what it was saying was, when he was asked questions and realized there was a dialogue as opposed to just a narrative he had to recite, all of a sudden it began to pull him back out. In fact, it even said on here, it's like he took the red pill. Which, yeah, those who know. It's so like Morpheus got hold of him and gave him the red pill. But it leads to my next article. So the next piece I've got here came from the Daily Mail, and I just saw it again a minute ago on TV. It's maddening. Absolutely maddening. Stanford Law School, one of the most revered institutions for, legal knowledge in the nation. Stanford Law School had just what I think to be one of the most embarrassing and unbelievable moments in which everything Chadwick said a moment ago was not allowed. So here's the deal. Story in the Daily Mail. I had any number of options to pull this story from. I chose Daily Mail because it included more information. Daily Mail, dated yesterday. Stanford University students have called for a woke inclusivity dean to be fired. See, here's the deal. Last week, a Trump-appointed judge named Kyle Duncan, a federal court judge, was invited by Stanford Law School's Federalist Society to come and give a speech. other students decided to show up and make it a non-speech. What makes it worse is not only were there dissenters in the room, but they could not hear his opinion because they wanted to shout him down instead. The reason why they felt comfortable doing that was because before the speech even started, a dean of the school, and you may be interested to know that she was the dean of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and her name is, where'd it go? I just lost her name. It is Dean, oh shoot, I'll find her name in a minute. But she got up there and her name is Tyrion Steinbach. Dean Tyrion Steinbach, the diversity, equity, and inclusion dean for the law school, decided it was her position to make sure that the judge, the invited speaker, the federal district court judge who was invited to the campus to speak, that he got 6 minutes of prepared remarks about what a bad guy he is from her. A dean of the school decided she needed to put him in his place before he was allowed to speak. Now, of course, she started it with things like, I'm all for free speech, but I believe you need to understand. And then, so maddening as that is, let me point out a couple of pieces. In fact, let me jump forward first. Let me do this. The judge himself, he didn't hold back. And by the way, any of you out there who are in the legal world and you've ever practiced in front of a federal district court judge, you know that they're used to being able to say what they want to say and make their points. In an interview, it says that Judge Duncan called the incident an embarrassment, saying it made him fear for the future of our country. He said, this is a quote, "This is one of the best law schools in the world. The students are the cream of the crop, the future judges, senators, presidents, leaders of industry, and yet here's a mob of the best and brightest shouting down a federal judge who's been invited to the campus, and thereby demonstrating they don't have the foggiest grasp of the basic concept of legal discourse." That's what Chadwick's talking about, discourse. You have to meet reason with reason. Instead, their operating principle is, if I don't like what you say or think, I'll silence you. Unless those students undergo a radical change in their whole approach to argument and disagreement, they are unfit to be members of any bar. Wow. In other words, they need to be deprogrammed or they will not be worthy of being the lawyers they say they're trying to be. So the interesting piece here, though, and I do take, and here's where I begin to shift our narrative on the show a little bit. As much as I'm frustrated with kids like the one in the audio link who didn't know what to say and thought he was supposed to say something, and then once he realized it was safe not to have to say the narrative, in other words, he didn't have a backbone. To the other side, which is the ones who are so entrenched because they've been told to be woke, even to the extent of having a dean stand up and do some of their work for them, shutting down discourse. The thing I take heart in, though, is in this article, it was students who wrote a piece to the school newspaper calling for that to be corrected, telling the administration that you need to fire that dean. And then, by the way, they didn't want her fired. They never once wanted her fired because she said things they didn't like. They wanted her fired because what she did is an embarrassment to the school, and no one should be allowed to keep their job after treating anyone who was invited to the campus the way she did. And it was students who led this follow-up. The school has now apologized, although the school is taking no action against that dean. This wokeness, we've got to deprogram this, and I love the fact that these students are the ones who are saying, we've got to have discourse. We can't do it like that. This is an embarrassment to who we say we are. All right, listen, we're going to take a break right now, about a minute ahead of schedule. We'll come right back and begin moving forward on, wrapping this up. But you might want to know that Alabama has got some things going on with some woke ideology in our own colleges. And then here's a thing. I love this. Candace Owens is joining forces with TPUSA for Blexit, trying to change the woke narrative on how black people are supposed to think. No, there's no supposed to. It's how they feel led to think. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. We'll be right back. Yeah. Man, we are back. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio, enjoying the boomer bumps, man. That was some classic Eagles right there, and yes, I love that.
That was good.
That was
right when it came in. I was like, oh yeah.
You know, I just sat over here and grooved for a minute. It's funny how sometimes these bumps play. I don't even want to talk. I just want to listen to the music for a second. Anyway, good one. All right. Hey, listen, we are back right now. Going to finish up this topic. I'm talking about deprogramming woke, and I haven't even gotten to all the text messages that I've got over here. I just realized there's so many. Let me just kind of wrap this up by telling you a couple of things. So I completely believe in the same thing that our caller earlier, Chadwick, said. We have to have the ability to, if we're gonna deprogram woke, we have to have the ability to have conversation, which, by the way, means we have to be armed for the conversation. You don't want to bring a rock to a gunfight, right? You don't want to do like that kid in the audio link I had earlier who walked into the conversation and went abada, 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 and had no way to explain what he thought were his convictions that he quickly realized were not his convictions. You gotta know how to lay it out there. And, oh, by the way, do not have any fear if someone asks you a question about a political policy or something in, foreign policy news or whatever. If you don't know, just say, I hadn't studied up on that one, man. Let me look into it and I'll get back to you. Just tell them that. You don't have to know everything about everything. You have to know where your principles are. You got to know your principles. You got to know the bedrocks you stand on. And that's the only way we're going to deprogram woke is if we conservatives are ready to have the opportunity for discourse when it arises, and we have the courage of our convictions to say the things that we believe in, and we've studied up. Got to do it. It's like 1 Peter 3:15, I think it is. 1 Peter 3:15, I believe, that says we should be ready at all times to give an accounting for the faith that is within us, and to do so with gentleness and respect. Well, that's faith. I get it, but I believe that principle can be applied to a variety of conversations. I believe we should be ready at all times to give an accounting for the conservative principles that we stand on, and be willing to do so with gentleness and respect, meaning you don't beat somebody up because of it. You let them know, hey, listen, man, you may feel that way, but I don't. Here's what I think. Here's what I believe. Here's what I stand on. That's the only way we're going to deprogram woke is if you're ready for the conversation when the opportunity arises, you can say, yeah, but here's something for you to think about. If they don't want to hear it, they won't hear it. If they want to shout you down, let them try. But here's a couple more things to think about. We've got this. Don't think that that Stanford Law School situation or the fact that the kid was interviewed in that audio link I had was from UT in Austin. Those are liberal venues. How about this? How about University of Alabama? So 1819 News has a story that came out today. It's up on, by the way, we now have, if you want to see them, anytime I quote a story and rattle the paper, what we're going to start doing is every single day, if you go to our website, rightsideradio.org, and you go to the live stream section where you can watch or listen to the show through the internet, at the bottom of that same page, there's a button you can hit for the right side sources. Every link to the stories that I've got that day are up in the order of their dippers, so you can go grab the story. This one's on 1819 News. Alabama's 14th in higher education appropriations, 14th in the nation. $2.12 billion we're going to put into our universities. Great. Keep in mind that in recent years, the article says, public universities have become ideological battlegrounds. Governor Ron DeSantis is in the process in Florida of instituting widespread reforms to prohibit things like diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. Yay! We need more of that here. State Representative Ed Oliver here in Alabama. He's got a related bill in the House of Representatives right now that, if passed, would ban all public education institutions from promoting or endorsing or requiring affirmation of certain divisive concepts. All right. Let's talk about this. What's a divisive concept? Well, some of them are just going to be matters of opinion, and you got to be able to deal with those. Some of them are things like, though, at the University of Alabama, according to the article. They just required students in some type of a gender studies class to purchase a $95 textbook. And I think it's an online textbook. What? And it required them to have this with content that dealt with things like what they call third wave feminism, abortion, radical subjectivism, androgynous children free of gendered norms, sexual promiscuity, queering society, and learning from drag queens. That kind of crap is divisive. There's no reason to have something that teaches you to gain from drag queens. So, yeah, it's out there. But I'll close with this. Here's my last piece on deprogramming woke. Candace Owens. Some of y'all may know Candace Owens. I got to see Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk speak here in Birmingham right when they were both kind of hitting the scene. This would be, I guess, about 6 years ago. And Candace Owens, a dynamic, conservative black woman, has started an organization that you may have heard of called Blexit. And the idea is taking it from Brexit, which is the British, exiting the European Union. Blexit is trying to encourage the black community to understand that there's another narrative, and the idea that you have to vote Democrat, like Biden said, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Well, that's just awful. Blexit, in her own words, since the beginning, it says Blexit has been about reaching more people who need to see themselves as victors, not victims, empowered, not oppressed. If just a small fraction of the black community, it says, in America catch the vision, we can change the entire country. So they founded it in 2018. They already have 44 state chapters, 14,000 volunteer members, 60,000 supporters. And they're rejecting what they call the mainstream narrative. They are empowering minorities to take advantage of opportunities. In other words, what they're doing is they're deprogramming woke. They're telling folks it's about freedom and family and faith, and they're working to shift culture through live events. They had 2,000 people back in 2020 that marched in a Blexit event. At the end of the event, the whole 2,000-member crowd broke out in the national anthem. Candace Owens says, Black Lives Matter ends their meetings with rioting and looting. Blexit protests end with 2,000-plus black and Latino Americans singing the national anthem. That's how you deprogram woke. That's how you do it. That's how you deprogram woke. You give them another narrative. You show them another way. And oh, by the way, you're prepared for the conversation. And if they shout you down, you have a conversation with somebody else. Don't worry about it. Move on. Shake the dust off your feet. But if you have an opportunity to share the principles that you believe in, you better know what the principles are you believe in. Don't be like that young skull full of mush who was asked about his white, does he believe in white privilege? Oh, yeah, I got white privilege. I mean, I do. Why do you think you have privilege? I don't know. No, don't do it. Don't do it. And by the way, if you see somebody lost in that morass, be willing to bring them out of it. Deprogram that woke. We got to get rid of it. All right, folks, we're going to come right back and finish up the last half hour of the show. I'm looking forward to this next topic. It's called Top Gun is Tops. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. we're back. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio, solid, conservative, just plain right. Covering some major ground across the northern half of the most beautiful state in the nation, Alabama. I'm talking about this show goes way on down south of Birmingham, up north of Huntsville, Tuscaloosa, back over to Gadsden, parts of Georgia and Tennessee, and even Mississippi thrown in just for good measure. Hey, folks, before I go any further, too, I got to tell you about Elm Foundation. That's ELM, Elm Foundation. And ELM, by the way, stands for Expect Little Miracles. Elm Foundation, it's a 501c3 based out of Huntsville, and I'm loving this. All right, so their mission is to reach those who are not otherwise being reached, that are disadvantaged in our society, and do things like, how about teaching them a hand up as opposed to a hand out? Giving them the opportunities to better their position in life, to get job certifications and higher education opportunities and get them off the streets. And the Elm Foundation, by the way, they pay 100% of their operating costs. They're a nonprofit organization. Do they have grants? Sure. Do they have to take charitable donations? Sure. It all goes to their programs. And so the Elm Foundation, based out of Huntsville, is really doing amazing work, and I am so proud to have them as one of our Right Side radio supporters. So check them out. Their website is Elm, it's ELM, Elm HSV, as in Elm Huntsville, elmhsv.org, doing cool work right here in the area. Check them out. I think you'll like what you see, and like I said, I'm proud to have them as one of our supporters here at Right Side Radio. Speaking of which, we are a separate business. Right Side Radio is not owned by any of the stations you hear us on. And so if you want to advertise at Right Side Radio, we'd love to talk to you. We just signed up a new contract today. I'm looking forward to getting them on the air. But yeah, Right Side Radio, we survive in our own right as a separate business. And a big part of that is the revenue earned from selling advertising. You can't call the station and get the ad sold. You got to call us. So go to our website, rightsideradio.org. If you think your business fits into our team, then we'd love to have you. There's a tab on there where you can click advertising and send us a message, and we will jump on it, man. We'll have you on here toot sweet. So there's that. Boomer.
Yes.
Top Gun Maverick.
Oh,
I knew I'd get you.
incredible.
How many times have you seen it?
Quite a few.
Have you already?
Oh yeah. Well, I have it downloaded.
Oh.
So now I just go back in and I just watch my favorite parts, which is basically the whole movie. And I turn it up really loud and I wake up the kids.
I will confess, it is the only movie that I've gone to see without Charlene. She was out of town, I think, doing something with the grandkids. And so a buddy of mine and I went to saw it. I never do that kind of thing. Went and saw that and then watched it twice because I wanted her to see it. She wanted to see it. What am I saying? She wanted to see it as bad as I did. In fact, it was almost a bit of a thing that I saw it without her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, oh, honey, let's make that happen real soon, baby. But no, I was. That's probably the only movie I have paid to watch twice that I can remember.
Oh, I mean, I would completely agree. I don't remember the last time I went to the movies twice to see the same movie.
I think Top Gun is tops.
Oh, absolutely.
You like how I segued into my dipper there?
I did. I liked it.
I just slid right in. Yeah, number 3 on the triple dipper. Top Gun is tops. So, in case you didn't know, the movie Top Gun is being heralded as the savior of Hollywood. And I don't mean that lightly. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. But you might also want to know that despite being the savior of Hollywood, despite being nominated for 6 Academy Awards, to include Best Picture, that Top Gun Maverick pretty much got nothing out of the Academy Awards the other night. It came away with 1 Academy Award for sound. That's it. That's like a token. That's like well, we got to give them something. What do you want to do? I don't know. Give them sound. Okay. Sound. Somewhere there's a sound technician who is reveling in the fact that he got an Oscar, and the rest of the crew's like, really? That's what we got? The heck? I mean, and you know what, though? I anticipate that they kind of knew that was going to happen. The crew, the actors. Not. They know, a lot of them were there. Miles Teller and some of the others were there. Tom Cruise didn't even go. He just stayed on whatever movie set he was working on, apparently. I think he's filming overseas for the next Mission Impossible is what I read. But yeah. And now, here's the thing. Top Gun is tops, but did you see the article that was written? I've got a summary of it here on Fox News that came out 3 days ago, March 11th. Yeah, 3 days ago. Top Gun Maverick is insidious for portraying virtue of the U.S. military, says an MSNBC editor. Oh, yeah. Let's dissect this one for a minute. MSNBC opinion editor Zishan Alim recently condemned Top Gun Maverick as the most insidious movie at the Oscars because it showed the U.S. military as a beacon of virtue. Can't have that. Let's make sure we're clear. This is the U.S. military. We cannot possibly make it look honorable. Alim trashed the Best Picture nominee in a Saturday morning column, painting America's military in a positive light, and lamenting that the, quote, literal propaganda, as he described it, is, quote, poised to become canonized as a highly decorated film. Well, fear not, because it didn't. You know, all of the also rans, all of the lesser box office takers got the awards. Alim revealed that he was not as pleased with the film as millions of American moviegoers had been, though he admitted it was a breath of fresh air to see dazzling live-action aerial combat scenes. Okay. He went on to say, it beckons for a return to accepting the American war machine as a beacon of virtue and excitement. This guy way overthinks himself. Just like way overthinks himself. Alim went on to add, it's a poisonous kind of nostalgia, one that smuggles love of endless war into a celebration of live action. He takes himself so seriously. He explained that they got too much cooperation from the Department of Defense. And it was obvious that in return, they had to provide some, provocative narratives for the Department of Defense. It says, in exchange for access to military aircraft, the producers of the movie agreed to allow the Department of Defense to include its own key talking points. Let me get this straight. You want to use my aircraft carriers, and you want to use my multi-million-dollar fighter aircraft. And oh, by the way, you want to take them up for a good period of time. And on top of that, you want to use real personnel to have to service them and be with you for safety. But you don't want us to have a say in whether we look good doing it or not. Oh, Alim is something else. So it goes on to say, perhaps equally important, the script had to be written in a manner that flatters the military in order to secure the buy-in of the Pentagon. You think? Here's an idea. We'd like to make a movie trashing you. Sure, come on in. How about no? He even went on to say it's a collaboration in jingoism. Wow. Look up jingoism. You'll see why that's a weird word to be using right now. He then skewered the film over its main mission. Ready for this? By the way, if you haven't seen Top Gun Maverick, I encourage you. If you're a right side ruffian and you've not seen Top Gun Maverick, I am questioning your patriotism. Just throwing that out there. Just throwing that out there.
Go see it.
Go see it. Correct yourself right now. Anyway, Alim went on to skewer the film over its main mission to go and bomb a, quote, nuclear enrichment site, which could very well be in Iran. It revives the neoconservative conception of preventive warfare, the idea of using force to eliminate threats to America before they can emerge. Okay, let me do some splaining. Is this where I'm doing mansplaining? What am I doing here? I don't even know if Alim is a white guy. Is he a female? I don't know what he is. So, am I mansplaining? Am I white splaining? What am I doing right now? All I'm saying is this. How about this? I am Colonel splaining to you, there, Alim. Colonel Williams is saying, let me make sure you understand something. If there's a threat in the world, we're not warmongers, but we're also not pacifists. We're not so hawkish that we will just light up anybody who doesn't say things we like. But if you're building a nuclear reactor in a country that is hostile to the United States, with the intent of enriching uranium to the extent that you can have a nuclear device that could harm us or our allies, you might get paid a visit in the dark of night. Just saying. And that's okay. Now, here's the thing. Top Gun is tops. It didn't get squat out of the Oscars. And I think they knew that was coming. And I bet Miles Teller sat there with his tuxedo on, watching and going, yep, here we go. Tom told me not to come, but I'm here. That's just me putting words in his mouth. But here's some words from somebody else's mouth. Article in Variety that came out today, actually. Headline, and I won't use his word, but Steven Spielberg tells Tom Cruise, "You saved Hollywood's keister, and maybe saved the entire theatrical industry." That's how bad it was. COVID crushed Hollywood. It just did. You know, movies were having to go straight to streaming because they had no other choice because all the theaters were shut down. And at the same time, there was a narrative in the United States that was emerging because of the George Floyd riots and the BLM predominance, and the Biden administration got elected, that people were getting to the point of, like, you know, despair. No kidding. It was something that was happening across our nation that I don't know that I've seen in my lifetime. There was a sense of everything's wrong. How do we fix this? And then I kept noticing that Top Gun Maverick was going to come out, but they were pushing it back. And I was like, come on, man, are they going to show the movie or what? Just put it on streaming. We'll watch it. They waited. And this turned out to be the best decision. Steven Spielberg said in an interview the other day on a podcast about Tom Cruise, he said, "You saved Hollywood's keister, and you might have saved theatrical distribution." Spielberg added, seriously, his words, seriously, Top Gun Maverick might have saved the entire theatrical industry. Top Gun Maverick waited to the opportune moment, and people flocked not just to see a good movie, but to see a movie that reminded them it's okay to be an American, reminded them that it's okay to be strong and to have peace through strength, reminding them that it's okay to be in a nation that reveres its military and believes you guys in uniform, you men and women who serve in green, we love you. Thank you for what you do. And because of that, Top Gun became the second movie ever to gross over $1 billion at the box office. Not streaming, but the popcorn-eating theater box office, $1 billion. And Maverick now ranks as the 11th highest grossing movie in movie history. It's the 5th highest grosser at the domestic box office. And I'm telling you right now, the article says here in Variety, it became an old-fashioned hit that made its way out of the box office for months, based purely on word of mouth. And it says that there are more repeat customers for Maverick than most any other movie. And by its fourth weekend in North American movie theaters, 16% of its audience were second-timers in the first 4 weeks. Can you imagine? Within the first 4 weeks, 16% of the people that were flocking to the theaters to buy another ticket and eat more popcorn were second watchers. Tell me we don't have a narrative that we love. I'm just telling you, people willing to pay that kind of money to go see that kind of message, it just tells you that not only did they need it, but they were willing to support it. By God. Take me to a break, Boomer. I'm all Top Gun fired up right now, man. Feel the need for speed. All right, folks, Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. You guys stay tuned. We'll come right back and put a lid on it. And we're back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right. Saving the world, one soundbite at a time. Hey, by the way, I got to tell you, speaking of saving the world, how about saving the world one coffee cup at a time? Just Love Coffee Cafe. 2 locations in our listening area, one on Hughes Road in Madison, the other on South Parkway in Huntsville. And man, I tell you all the time about things like their environment, the way they got it set up for you just to enjoy the place. The food they've got is amazing. Let's go back to their original mission, Just Love Coffee Cafe. They have award-winning dry roast coffees, and they can grind the beans fresh, make you a steaming cup of light roast, medium roast, dark roast coffee. And then they got what Charlene calls the treat coffees. They got the cappuccinos, the espressos, the lattes, and they do this all day long, man. Their baristas will square you away. I'm just going to say, maybe on the way in tomorrow morning, because right now it's go home time. So maybe on the way in tomorrow morning, you think, you know what? I am not doing the trash coffee down yonder in the break room when I get there. I'm going to stop, and I'm going to be that guy who walks in carrying the cup in my hand with the Just Love Coffee Cafe logo on it and a big old fat cappuccino that's going to keep me wired up for the first 3 hours of the day. I'm just saying, Just Love Coffee Cafe, 2 locations, Hughes Road in Madison, South Parkway in Huntsville. Go by there and tell them you heard about it on Rightside Radio, because apparently a lot of people do, and that gives me the biggest kick. Just Love Coffee Cafe. All right, let's put a pin in this one. We're down to the last few minutes. I will just tell you this: Top Gun Maverick is my favorite newest movie. And I got a lot of favorite movies. I got movies I like. And most of my movies are the kind that fire me up. But Top Gun Maverick, it earned the right to be nominated for 6 Oscars. In my opinion, it earned Oscars that it didn't get. But they say it saved the movie industry. And it was partly because we rallied around the message. Was it put together well? Yeah. Great directing, great editing, great acting, great production with the collaboration of the U.S. Navy. But then, Lord, it was the story. It made you proud. I kept almost waiting for the other shoe to drop. I was so used to getting beat up with wokeness being inserted in my favorite shows or favorite movies. You know what I'm talking about? Where you're sitting there thinking, okay, any minute now, someone's going to say, and here's the non-binary pilot who will fly the lead mission. Something stupid. Nope. Just a straight up warfighter, made you feel proud to be an American, good people doing things for the right reason kind of movie. Well, anyway, there it is. I got several texts. I was going to try and get to a few before we go. JT from Lacey Springs, he said, he pointed out one of the words that boomers liked in the past. He said, it appears the Oscars is just snowflake jackassery. That's one of my. I
do like that word.
It's one of my words that I have to pull out. Well, that's as much as jackassery is what that is. Speaking of other words that sometimes I don't know where these things come out of my head. Allie from Athens texted in and said, Colonel splaining, love it. Splain on, sir, she says. Thank you, Allie. Appreciate you. What else we got here? Had a difficult time. David from Taft, Tennessee says, had a difficult time going to see Maverick due to the liberal nature of Tom Cruise. I know. It's one of those things where I have a hard time, listening to certain artists' music, but I can get through some of it. And I got through this one. And oh, by the way, he did a pretty good job playing what I would consider to be a conservative. So there's that. Jim from Madison, what do you say? He says, to be fair, Top Gun won only 1 Oscar for the beat song, Take My Breath Away. Okay, it did. Top Gun won. He says won only 1 Oscar. I know, kind of a pity. But I think this one deserved more. That's just me. I don't sit on the Oscar board, nor do I ever want to. John from Huntsville just gave me an A for the day, Boomer. And Boomer got an A+. I got an A-. You got an A+. Woo! I don't know what I did wrong, but nonetheless, I know what he says. He says because you set up the awesome March Madness bracket
That's
idea.
What it was.
There you go.
That's why I got the A+.
That's right, buddy. You got extra credit for that one. Yeah, just in the last minutes here, I'll tell you, Boomer had an amazing idea yesterday. March Madness NCAA basketball tournament is kicking off Thursday. And so if you go to our website, rightsideradio.org, you can join the Rightside Ruffian March Madness bracket just by clicking the button, filling in the blanks. It helps you through the process. I don't know nothing about no basketball teams, but I've got my bracket fixed tonight. It locks in because the game starts Thursday. It locks in by Thursday. And
Yeah.
we got how many people got in there now?
Last I checked, it was over 50.
We got over 50 people already signed up.
Over 50. Just make sure you submit your picks. If it looks like you have 0 points right now, you should start off with the max number of points. So make sure you put your picks in.
Nice. And we will have swag for the winner.
Yes.
Yes, we will. We will have right side stuff for the winner. All right. Great show. Great day. Boomer, good job. All right. Get in there on that Right Side Ruffian bracket, rightsideradio.org. Boomer and I back here tomorrow, too. Y'all have an amazing night. We'll see you then.